right. We are back for our third episode. I don't know if I'll keep counting on that or not, but yeah, this is number three. And some dude in AI, this is some dude here. And we're just going to do some building. Last episode was a quick recap. We kind of went over a foundation, a little bit of the grand plan. So if you want to get caught up, go watch that previous episode, episode number 2. And then so this one, we've got our shell of our website up, and I want to use Codex to kind of improve it and build on this foundation before we really create any projects. So I think the first projects are to build our internet foundation for future projects. So that way everything's got a good home to live. So yeah, right now we just have links, just 2 clickable links on here, 3. We have 3 clickable links. We have the top link, which will take us home. Our YouTube link, which will take you to the official YouTube channel of Some Dude and AI. And we have our Visit the Coffee Shop link. And I think I want to change that wording too. But while we're here on this link, let's just get this out of the way and let's visit the coffee shop. So Some Dude's Coffee Company has been under construction, and this is kind of my coffee and merch store. This is how I'm going to buy the groceries, and where you guys could help me out and stuff. This is my little side quest, my side gig. I do have a normal 9 to 5, but everything helps. And I figure instead of building a school or some PDF or give some secret sauce, all the information I'm just going to freely share with you guys. And you can use it as well, but I'm not going to charge you money for information. And I think that's a rule I'll stand by as we go. And so there won't be any of that kind of like snake oil type stuff. Not to say that they're all snake oil, but I don't know. I have not partaken in any of that myself when it comes to watching other folks' channels, so I don't really know how effective it is. But if there's a channel I really like and they have something that I can purchase and it helps them out and I get a little something back, that makes sense. And that's why I started Some Dude's Coffee Company. I am a coffee enthusiast, if not fanatic. Everything from the fancy stuffs with espresso and all sorts of drinks that need to be made with multiple different ingredients down to just a regular black cup of joe. So I love coffee, and so I figured we can have a cup of coffee together, and you could support me if you feel that I am providing a value and you do wish to support me. Come over to the coffee shop and pick up a bag or pick up a coffee mug, and be much appreciated. So we'll leave it there on that, and let's head back to our website. So a few things I want to do for this episode. We've got our foundation. I think these are going to be either useful tools or projects that we'll be working on in the future. But there's a few things that I want to do first. I'd like to see and watch how this channel grows and share that with you. So I think I'd like to add some metrics to this. And so maybe like a visitor count or something along the top here. I'd like to add our discount code for the coffee shop. So anybody that visits the site can use that 5% discount code on the coffee shop. I want to fix the wording of this guy and maybe fix this copywriting as well. And we'll kind of go from here. And I think I'll spend some time explaining things because this is episode 3, first real episode of us kind of building. So let's just make some simple goals and we'll go from there. So, but yeah, this is a live website on a live domain that you can visit. It's somedudeandai.com. So I've got Codex open in the back, and I've got a fresh new session pulled up here. So we can begin work. And I have a project. So a project is just projects in Codex are repos. Basically, projects are repositories in GitHub or repos or a repo folder on your machine or PC. And essentially what it is each project will have its own folder. And within that folder, that's where the AI is going to work and build things and collect data and information and keep records, all that good stuff. So simple kind of explanation on that. So we have and you can see I've got many projects going on that I actively work on, but this is for some dude in AI. So we're in this project. And dude one was what we were working on off last episode and probably a little bit before, but I started a new um, session from that. And just a little inside look. When I got done working in this session, doing what I wanted to do in dude one, I came down and there's two things that I do. And I have an open brain memory database built in Supabase. Essentially, it's a fancy log. And I just have the AI log and it knows how to classify all these logs. So it's really easy for it to look it up in the future. And so it's basically a log. At the end of every session, I log everything we've built, all the important stuff we've discussed, key decisions, and any lessons learned. And then also Codex, or if I'm using Claude Code or Claude, it has the ability to log anything that it would like to, as far as lessons learned or how best to work with me. So that way it's getting smarter working with me throughout time. And so maybe one of these projects here in the near future is maybe I'll build another open brain, and then we'll also build like I was thinking about building a blog for everybody, like the instructions like on these projects so they can rebuild them themselves really easy using their own AI tools. But I almost like it better if it's a blog meant for AI. So you can use your AI and say, hey, I need you to go to some dude in AI.com, and they've got an AI blog there for AI agents, and find this so we can build it. And it'll be tailored to that AI. Because in all realities, do you want to read my 2-page blog on AI memory, or would you rather have your agent read it and become the expert, and then you and him can hash it out and then build it? I think the latter is probably the way that most people are going to go. So, but got off a little off track there. Um, so, yeah, I was showing you at the end of our dude one, and these are sessions. So I started with dude, and then dude one, and then dude two. And at the end of dude one, I had it update the log, or open brain is what we call it. And then I asked it, okay, so I want to start a new session to continue working. I'll start the session, but I need a prompt that I can copy and paste into the new session. It'll catch it up on where we're at and what we've done. And then once that's done, have it stand by and ready to work for me. And then it gave me this nice long prompt. And I just copy pasted this, click that button. And I went into our projects over here. I clicked a new one and pasted it in and started a new project, renamed it, pinned it, and bam, here's dude two. And that's kind of my workflow. And so I start a new session anytime we're kind of working on a new topic within a new project, or if we've gotten really long in the tooth and got a lot of context on something that we're working on. And you can always ask if, Codex, hey, how are we doing on context? And so it's not that Codex can't handle a lot of context. Codex can handle a ton of context. But the more context you're working with, the more expensive it's going to get. And it's really not going to cost you anything extra if you're using one of their paid plans, like the $20 or $100 or $200 plans. But it's going to eat through your allotted credits in those plans faster. And so you might be finding you either have to upgrade or wait for your credit limits to refresh. And so one way to make your credits last a little bit longer is restarting these sessions before they, and it's kind of a fine thing too. I was thinking maybe a project down the road is a context type deal, to measure where you're at and give a recommendation of when it's time to kind of start a new session. But you can you kind of get a feel for it, like when you've been working in something for a little long, or if you've been working in something that's very intensive, lots of images, videos, lots of technical data. um, you can just ask Codex, like, hey, how's the context in this session doing? And so, just for example, let's just ask, I know this is a new session, but I'm trying to explain the context concept, as I'm working while filming a YouTube video here. And I was just explaining the concept that, you're able to work with a ton of context, but the more context you work with, the faster it burns through credit usage, which can be expensive, or you can have to, you get to the end of your limit threshold faster. And so I can just sit here and ask you, like I am now, hey, how's this context looking as far as credit usage? Um, is it, do we have plenty of room to get some more good work done, or would we be beneficial for us to start a new session so that way we're not eating through credits unnecessarily? And so Codex, my minion here, he's thinking about that. Probably throwing him for a little bit of a loop because I'm talking to you all out there in the YouTube verse, and him at the same time. So exactly, you can ask me that at any time. Right now, the session has a substantial amount of context because I loaded the project brief, repository state, brand studio references. So it basically got everything ready like our prompt asked it to. One caveat, I can estimate context pressure from the conversation, but I cannot see your exact credit balance or account threshold. Yeah, so it won't be able to determine that, but it can tell you, like, if it's using a lot of credits. Can't tell you how many credits we have, though. So he even gave me a plain English version to see if I can explain it to you. So let me read this. The AI can tell me whether the conversation is getting context heavy and whether a fresh session would be more efficient. It can't see actual credit balance, but it can help me avoid dragging unnecessary history into the next piece of work. Yeah, because essentially it's got to, it doesn't, like, every time that it does something, it rereads everything in this session and uses that to go forward. And so the more you work, the more it's doing that. It has to do it every single time that you send a command. And credits are your usage rate, as far as, like, the way I understand it is, like, each word is about a credit. And so yeah, it can add up, and you might be doing something simple, but you might be using a ton of credits to do it if you're doing it on an old or long-winded session. So, but the recommendation for this session, keep working in this session until we finish the next coherent task, and then start fresh when we switch to a substantially different project, or when I tell you the accumulated context is becoming inefficient. There you go. Now, one thing to beware, this inefficiency, that's talking about as far as its memory is degraded because it's working with so much, so its work might be degraded, I believe. Not necessarily that it's inefficient in credits, but it's kind of one and the same. So the longer you go in a session, the more degraded it gets. But you'll see a good sign, you'll see Codex automatically compact itself too, where it'll take a lot of things previous in the session and compact them down and summarize it for itself, so it doesn't have to reread everything every time, and gives just a quick summary. And that helps it a lot. And we should probably do some research at some point and explain that out a bit. But yeah, so just wanted to go over that real quick. But let's build a few things, and we can kind of go from there. So First thing I want to do is I like to work in the browser within Codex. Codex has its own browsers. And eventually, just watching these videos, you'll probably learn what almost all this stuff is. I'm not going to just give you some grand tour and try to teach you everything, because I think that like it'll go in one ear and out the other. But like if you're watching me or building alongside with me and you see it and we're doing one thing at a time, I think you're a lot more apt to retain it. And I think we get a lot more out of that, both you and I together. So we'll go that route. But to open a browser, I just come up here to toggle this little side panel open. And it's got an area to start a browser, and we can just enter a URL. And so we can do some dude and AI.com. Now you just got, oh, can't be reached. I probably fat fingered something. So why did it do that? Let's see. This is an actual regular browser. Let's just do a little copy paste action. And now you know why I use Wispr Flow, which that's something I wanted to add to our website as well. They don't necessarily sponsor me, but I'm definitely using the referral code because it is a tool that I use constantly. It's probably the best AI tool I paid for besides Codex or Claude Code itself. So now let's go back to Codex. I just copied that browser. There we go. Here's our site. So let's see here. Now, it's pretty much what we had there. And I don't know if we need this sidebar. I think, there we go. We can do that for now. So that way we got a better view. First thing we wanted to do was, let's just do some simple edits so you can see how to edit some stuff. And I didn't necessarily like yesterday the copy writing it came up here, visit the coffee shop. I like the word hour better than the visit our coffee shop. So let's just do a quick change. So there's a little annotate, little like comic book bubble type thing over up here. You click on that and you can come find what you want to change. And you click on it. It gives you a little thing here. And we can just tell it what we want. And I'm going to use Wispr Flow. And I'm just going to talk to my computer. And the microphone will pick it up. So let's change the copywriting in this button to visit our coffee shop. And then we'll hit enter. And it put our annotation in here. You can hover over it and it says it. And look how smart that Wispr Flow was. It did exactly what I was doing, but it knew when I was quoting something or, referring to the actual name I wanted to change something to. And it put that within the quotation marks. And so Wispr Flow is an AI tool. And it is pretty cool. And like if it's like getting the spelling of something wrong or the spelling of a name wrong that you use constantly, if you go back and correct it in the field that you typed it in, it sees that. And if you do it a couple times, it adapts and fixes it. Or you can actually go into Wispr Flow itself and you can make those corrections. Like you can go to the dictionary and you can it was spelling my sister's name wrong all the time. It was using Lindsay versus Lindsay. And so, now it doesn't make that mistake anymore. So just kind of cool. But yeah, and we don't need to type anything down here because we already gave the instructions there. But if we wanted to do like multiple things at once, we can just add them up with different annotations. But let's just fix that one so you can see how easy it is to fix things. And this is on our live website. It's going to go out and fix it. So it's thinking. Okay. So, and I find it's very useful to actually read. I don't read all of them, But if I'm not working on like 2 or 3 things at one time and multitasking, if I'm just doing one thing at a time, kind of like I'm doing now with you guys, I read this because I learn a lot from these. A, I'm learning how this AI model works, and B, I'm learning terminology. I'm learning the understanding of things that, because I'm just some dude. I'm not an engineer. I barely got my associate's degree. Like college level algebra almost killed me. Almost killed me. So, coding and all that, I don't know how to code. So couldn't tell you the first thing about it. But I do know how to manage. I was in the United States Army for quite a bit of time, and then have worked as a supervisor in multiple different places and in very stressful environments. So I understand people and managing and working with agents. And Codex is an agent. It's just Codex is essentially ChatGPT's agent, and Codex is the harness or like the tool bench surrounded by the ChatGPT. Is what this is. That's the simplest way I can put it. But yeah, and this just helps me understand how all this is working. I've learned a lot from reading these. So definitely a recommendation. Now, one thing I didn't do, and I really, really should start doing at the beginning, is a lot of the stuff that we're going to go over and discuss. And, a lot of it's my interests, and I'm sure it's going to be some of your interests. Because for me, like I used to have a lot of hobbies that costed money, and man, some of my hobbies were expensive, like fishing. You could just go fishing with a Walmart pole and some worms and call it good, but that's not how I do things. And, I took fishing to the next level. And so now that I'm in a different stage in my life, I'd like my hobbies to make money, at least make more than they cost. And so I'm into like investing, crypto. I'm into the whole Kalshi thing. So anything I do and talk about through any of this stuff is purely educational. It's for entertainment, and it's not me giving you advice on what to do with your money because I can't even manage my own money right. So just want to put that out there. And if anything, I hope you can just learn from me a little bit because I will make mistakes along the way. That is guaranteed. But one thing I pride myself on is learning from my mistakes. I don't mind making mistakes as long as they, aren't life safety type of stuff because I learn from them. So, all right. So here's our classic look of what it's done. So it changed the homepage button to visit our. So one thing it said it has not deployed yet. And so basically it changed it within the code of our files, but it hasn't pushed it to GitHub, which is kind of our backups and our code library. It's only changed it within our computer. And so I want it to make sure there's 3 things I want to make sure that every time we make a change, it does. I want to make sure it commits it in our own internal machines files, the change, pushes it to GitHub, and deploys it to the live website. So I'm going to come back and use my Wispr Flow. Hey, thank you for making that change. But here's a standing order for the rest of this session. Anytime we make a change, go ahead and commit the change, push the change to Git, as well as deploy it to our live website at somedudeandai.com. And please do so now for the change you just did. And look at that. Wispr Flow got it word from word. Now, if there's background noise and stuff, Wispr Flow can be a little bit harder. So I definitely like using the mic I'm using now to record this show, and it's just a cheap, $30 mic off of Amazon that has a magnet to my shirt. It hears a lot better and will get it right. So, but if it does have a hard time hearing you, like if I'm going to use the built-in microphone in my laptop, sometimes it's guessing at what I'm trying to say and it doesn't quite get it right. So there's one downside to Wispr Flow. But yeah, let's go ahead and send that. And so while it's working on that, The model I'm using right now is GPT 5.6 Soul on a medium um, level, and I do pay for the $100 a month plan, and so that's what we're using now. Uh, I just like using the top end one unless I'm using unless I, especially when I'm building and just doing stuff. I like the consistency of using the same model because I learn how they work versus, if I bounce to a lesser model, even if it's a simpler task, they work differently and they operate differently and they receive prompts differently. Like you'll see people that tell you it'll save you credits and it'll save you your usage limits and stuff to do that. And they're absolutely right. But you got to be able to adjust how you work with each model. It's not like you can work with them all the same. So the more I work with 5.6 Soul, the better I'm going to get to know it and how it works, and I can be more efficient. And I think that'll save me credits and time. Plus, it's faster. And here's the other thing is, I and this is something for us to research. Could be a project. See, like there's projects and things all the time that come out of this. I do believe that just because you go to a cheaper model doesn't mean it's more efficient. So and for example, 5.6 may well be able to accomplish something more efficiently and faster using less credits than a cheaper model could. A cheaper model that isn't as smart and efficient may have to use more credits to get the same task done. So it might actually cost you the same or more. So switching to a lesser model isn't always the answer. And that's a hard thing to know. When should you be using a lesser model on that? So I don't know. And I think that if you're using, like, if you're working on multiple projects at once and you're multitasking, you got all sorts of different things going on, possibly a good idea to save you some credit usage. But for me, I find it's just simple to kind of stick with one unless there's really good reasons to switch to another. Sometimes if I'm working on something a little bit harder than what we're doing now, I'll switch it from medium to high or very high type of things. You definitely, if you're using Claude, you got to be a bit more aware of this stuff because it is more expensive and your usage will go down a lot faster. OpenAI with their GPTs you get a lot more bang for your buck. I'll just say that. Um, so it's doing all three right now. It actually updated our Open Right Brain too. Yep. So it looks like it's deploying to Vercel. Vercel is the host of our website. So you can see why it might have been beneficial to make maybe 3, 4, 5 changes and then commit. Or you can do all the committing at the end of a session. I just wanted you to see the live outcome on the actual website that you guys can visit. And like once we start doing this live, which I got to get a bigger following, and I do want to get a better computer so I can live stream with video at the same time. My computer's a little bit older and it just things wouldn't go well, wouldn't be as smooth. So we'll have to do some upgrade on stuff over time to do that. But eventually when we're live streaming, you'd be able to go to this website at the same time I'm working on this, and you would be able to see the changes take place as they're happening on here. Okay, so let's refresh. There it is. Visit our coffee shop. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we'll leave it here, and then I'll record another episode. I want to keep these episodes maybe at about, anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes at a time. And next episode, we'll come back and let's build in our visitor counter, and let's use one of these blocks for Wispr Flow and add a whole section on Wispr Flow because you guys just see me use that tool like crazy here. So, and whether you guys use my referral or not, you should use it or use a tool like it. Like, it's so much faster just to talk with AI, and your accuracy is going to go up, and there's going to be less miscommunications, it just makes it so much easier. It really does.